Hello, this is Mr. Red Fox. This is part one of my Paper Mario review. In this review, I'm just going to be going over the technical details of the game, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as per my normal reviews. Part two will be where I will go over my feelings about the game, and all that type of stuff. If you're just interested in the technical aspect of the game and how I feel about that, this is that part. So without much ado, let's get into it. Starting with the good after the cut. So Paper Mario Origami King is the sixth game in the Paper Mario franchise. It began on the N64 with Paper Mario 64, and then it continued on to the GameCube with Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door, and then it went to Super Paper Mario on the Wii, and then Sticker Star on the 3DS, and then Color Splash on the Wii U, and now this game on the Switch. So this is a franchise with a lot of history. So with that being said, let's talk about the good. The game graphically looks great. It really does look really good. The music is also really good. So I mean, there's a lot of cool shit going on in this game. The combat is not as simplified as it was in past iterations. So overall, it's pretty good. The combat's pretty good. The music's pretty good. Graphically, it looks more papery than ever before. If you're into that. The gameplay mechanics are interesting, to say the least. Let's see. The good. The music is, I mean, the music isn't as memorable as past iterations of Paper Mario. So, I mean, there's that. It's not terrible, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm gonna remember all of this shit. It's like, it's okay for what it is. So with that being said, I guess I can get into the bad after the cut. So, the bad about this game, in my humble opinion, is that, in terms of, this is my opinion, this is just a technical thing, this is something that I noticed. Basically, one of the bad things about the game is that, it's not very well optimized for the system. Or maybe the system is just struggling to run it. I don't know. But basically, one of the things I noticed about the game is that, essentially speaking, the game basically crashed on me once. And I noticed that the game kind of struggles to load certain battle arenas when you're fighting. And that's kind of annoying. Like, you can literally see where it's struggling to load a new area. So, to me, that kind of like, okay, this is kind of not cool. The battle system is very kind of, how can I put this? It's like, I don't know who this battle system is made for, because, okay, the combat is a mix between what you had in Sticker Star in terms of the time to attacks are really simple. Really simple. You just have to press a button. And they're a mix between that, and they're a mix between well, no, it's just basically you're just pressing a button. And here's the thing, there's shit they don't tell you, like their time to attacks on items. So basically, if you're using an item, there's a time to attack on that. They don't really tell you that, because there's no manual with this game. I think there's a digital manual, but who cares about that? So there's that, and you don't really get any new abilities in the game as time goes on. Your abilities are tied to what you get through Olivia and the Elementals. Like, you get the ability to fucking use a 1,000-fold arm, and it's like, okay, this is cool, but, like, there's no explanation for this. But, you know, whatever. So, basically, you know, that's kind of one of the issues I have with the game at this point. So, you have a very simplified kind of, combat system by and large, but then it gets complex because you have a combat, like, basically before combat you have the puzzle section where you're essentially you're in a coliseum that's like Mario's at the center, and everything around the coliseum is a slide panel. So you have to move these enemies around in order to line them up into a quadrilateral, a quadrant, or a line of 4 units. And basically different enemies can be taken out that way. If you hit an enemy with a hammer attack or an attack that hits in that same 4 quadrilateral thing, you're basically kind of hitting enemies in a quadrant with a hammer, or attacks that hit like that, like a hurl hammer, well, not a hurl hammer, but a tanuki tail, stuff like that. Or you're hitting enemies in a line, like jumping on them or using a fire flower or ice flower or something like that. So basically, the game is very much kind of like, it's very much kind of like a, how can I put this nicely? It's essentially, at this point, like, the preamble to combat, for lack of a better word, is this combat, like, basically you essentially using the puzzle section. And the puzzles, like, some of the puzzles against some enemies are kind of easy. Some of them are kind of like, what the fuck? So it's like you don't really know where you're going to be going with certain levels of how complex the combat is going to be in certain sections. I don't know why this is. I'm not entirely sure, but that's just what's going on. So the combat kind of is like, okay. There's also aspects of this game that feel like, to me, and this is just my own personal opinion, they feel like the people who made this game didn't notice these types of issues that bother people in other games. Case in point, like in this game, there's issues such as, hey, there's a segment in this game where you have to basically go through kind of a Majora's Mask section. Now, here's the problem with this. Most people you ask who are like, what was one of the most annoying parts of Majora's Mask? It's the Great Sea section, where you have to find all the Triumph Forks. The pieces of the Triumph Forks. Well, in this game, you'll go through a section like this. It's not quite as bad as Majora's Mask, because the Great Sea was a larger section to explore, but it's still kind of shitty. It's not like really, did you have to put this in this game? You know, people who say, well, I don't like the backtracking of the original Paper Mario games. There's backtracking in this game. There's lots and lots of backtracking. So, it was leaked that that Intelligent Systems wanted to make a Paper Mario game that surpassed Thousand Year Door. That did not happen, in my estimation. The characters are, you know, except for 2 characters in this game, a lot of the characters are not memorable. Or to be even more precise, a lot of these characters are generic as fuck. And I don't know how you're going to make a memorable RPG with generic characters. It's very hard. Like, the writing is good, but, I mean, you know, writing an RPG, especially in the Paper Mario series, the writing has always been kind of good. So that's not really a hallmark of, you know, of success. So essentially, the game is just kind of like, I mean, it's well made. It's not broken, although I don't think it's well optimized for the Switch. It broke on me. It crashed on me once, which I'm still kind of pissed off about. Like, I'm still not like, oh man, that's so awesome. It's like, how the fuck are you going to have a game crashing on the first party system? Like, I don't get that. I don't get how you're going to do that, but it is what it is. So overall thoughts about the game. I think it's, on this part 1 review, I think on the technical level, it's okay. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a D. The previous game was a D-, and the game before that was a 0. So, could it be better? Yes. Could it be worse? Yes. It's kind of like in the middle between all that. Part 2 coming up next, where I'll get into how I feel about the game on a subjective level. After the cut. Well, part 2 coming up next.